Welcome back to the Free Fall Podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and today we are going to be talking about a topic that I want to discuss with you guys because I've been implementing it in my life recently, and it's helped me out tremendously, and I kind of want to go over some reasons why I think you should implement the same technique into your life, and maybe it can benefit you like it's benefiting me right now. But before we jump into it, I want to ask a small request for those of you that are tuning in. Those of you that are tuning in and have been watching the podcast, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've gotten some awesome feedback, and that makes me really happy. It makes me want to keep doing this. We will be flying solo today. Do not have a co-host with me yet. We're still working on that. But I wanted to ask you guys to please like the videos. Comment something stupid down below. I don't care if you just type letters, whatever. Just something to help the algorithm if you can. If you are listening and you enjoy the content and you want to see more of it, please do that. It helps the algorithm. And I want to get some more viewers and followers. But so far, I'm super impressed with everything. So thank you so much for those of you that are liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. But let's jump right into it today. I wanted to talk about something that I've been doing, like I said, lately. So the concept is pretty simple. It's attacking your weaknesses. Now, what does that mean? Attack your weaknesses. Well, it's kind of like it sounds. You take a weakness that you have, a quality that you have, and you solely focus on that weakness, whether it's a mental weakness or a physical weakness. You put all of your energy and efforts into improving that, okay? It sounds like a simple concept, right? Like, okay, work on your weaknesses. Wow, thanks. Cool podcast. All right, click. No, it's a little more complicated than it seems because a lot of people subconsciously avoid doing things that they aren't good at or that they don't enjoy doing or that they're intimidated by, whether it's physically or mentally. So it's important to consciously be aware that you might be somebody that's doing that. And I know that it's possible because I have done that most of my life without realizing it to some degree with certain things. And what I did is I compartmentalized it in my own head. Oh, I work on some weaknesses in my life, so that must mean I always do that. Well, that's not the case. I did it with some areas of my life, but I didn't do it with other aspects. So you kind of have to make this a habit to do it with everything in your life. And I promise you, if you implement this simple technique, then your life will change for the better. It's just not possible that it won't. So one thing I want to focus on right away is that most of the time in life, when we're not where we want to be, or we have issues in our life, it's because there are weaknesses. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, doesn't mean that you're a weak person. It just means that there are things that are coming up. Life is trying to teach you lessons and you're not listening. You're not improving these areas. So you need to stop and really focus on what I can do to improve this area of my life. I got some notes here, so I'll kind of skim over them. But one of the things, for example, that I did when I was a personal trainer, and I still am a personal trainer, but when I was in person training people in the gym, was I would give somebody a workout, and as soon as they started complaining about it or they told me that they really didn't like doing that workout or I hate these and this hurt, well, thank you for telling me that because now that's all we're going to focus on. And it's annoying, and they would get a little upset with me. You know, it was all playful and fun, and everything. But the point was, if you're paying me to improve you, you're actually paying me to make you a better version of yourself, and you're telling me that you don't like doing something, so I'm going to make you do that, right? What better way to improve somebody as quickly as possible and make them get the most value out of themselves than having them do something that they don't like to do? Why do you not like doing something? Because you're not good at it, because it hurts, because it's not fun, because it's not enjoyable. It's because you're not good at it, right? If you're good at something, then you're probably going to want to do it more. So it's a simple concept that people don't really utilize, I feel like, to the fullest extent. And yes, it is annoying, right? It's annoying to do things that you're not good at, that are weaknesses of yours, but you need to learn to embrace that, right? Become comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I think that's an important thing that people should focus on, and I've done that in my life lately. A lot of it mentally. There were some aspects where I was, and it doesn't even have to be a bad thing, like a weakness thing. I was allowing certain things in my life recently that just simply aren't okay, whether it's how people treat me or my mentality towards subjects. And I just simply stopped doing that. I stopped allowing myself to have those feelings, and my life is very quickly improving. So, a really good thing. Yeah, embrace the annoyance. The other aspect of it is that kind of ties hand in hand with this concept is that you have a lot of potential locked inside of you in your genetic code specifically. And I mean that in the most literate way. You have so much potential in your genes from your ancestors, from just being a human being on planet Earth that isn't going to be unlocked, that isn't going to have that, the environment isn't going to try to bring it out of you if you're in a comfortable situation in your life, if you're in a comfortable environment. So if you've never pushed yourself to the absolute limit or worked on your weaknesses, then you really don't know what you're capable of. And that's like, I could do an hours on that concept alone, a whole video. I could talk about that forever. But the simple concept is that you have so much potential locked inside of you, and you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you're working on your weaknesses and doing things you wouldn't normally do because you don't like doing them, because you're not good at them or whatever, to make your body unleash that potential that's hidden in your DNA. Okay, cool. So that concept I did want to give out to those of you that may be needing to hear that right now, because lots going on in the world. The emergence of artificial intelligence, and I'm actually going to do an entire podcast on an AI and like that whole aspect very soon. But I want to have a co-host. I have a couple people in mind, but I want to have a co-host for that. I think it would be better to have a back and forth discussion. I'm actually going to implement some Chat GPT into it, and probably going to do YouTube video on it. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to doing that. But we live in a different era, different type of world where communication is done a lot through social media. The reason I'm even have this podcast is because I have a message that I feel like I want to send, and there's no other way to do that other than to embrace the world that we're in, the current state, and it's communication through electronics and all that stuff. So you may have a lot of good messages you want to send the world, but you're never going to be able to spread that message unless you embrace, social media and all of these platforms. There's tons of platforms, guys. If you feel like you have a good message, or if you just want to create art, or if you want to, even therapeutically journal to some degree, and you're not concerned with being super big on social media, it's really good for you to put out there and speak into words and create something. It's really therapeutic. So next topic is this concept of, if you were to focus, I want you guys to stop and think, all right, and just focus on this concept. If you were to focus on your biggest weakness every day for 1 year, where do you think your life would be in 1 year? Where do you think that you would be? Whether it's at your job, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's physically in the gym, if you were to focus on just your weaknesses, mostly focus on just your weaknesses for an entire year and really give it your all, where do you think you would be, right? Now that concept is kind of intimidating. It's like, a year's a long time, right? And it is. A year is a long time, but that's why we break it down. So a good exercise, if you guys are listening and want to try this, and kind of how I did it, was start one day at a time. Just like everything else, in previous podcasts, I've mentioned this concept, just one step at a time. So if you focus on your weaknesses, whether it's physically in the gym, whether it's mentally, whether it's in your relationship, maybe your relationship is struggling, if you focus on them one day at a time and you turn that day into a couple days, and that couple days turns into a week, that week will turn into a month, that will turn into 6 months, and then you're at a year, and you will be a completely different person. So if you want to try that exercise, I think it's super cool. and a really good idea. Other than that, guys, I do want to try to keep these little podcasts shorter. Keep the attention span. I know it's like I have severe ADD, like bad, and we live in a TikTok generation where everything is very, fast, and I'm a small channel, so I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. I do want to just give that little tidbit of information I had out that I've been working on myself lately, and just kind of share that with you, and hopefully that creates some value for you guys and you can really take that home with you. When I do these solo podcasts, it's going to be a little bit more serious. It's going to be a little more dry, and I'm going to try to do like some self-improvement help type thing, but it's not always going to be like that. So I don't want everyone who's listening to be like, geez, this dude, all he does is just talk about like motivation and blah, blah, blah. And that's not the goal of this podcast, but it's just with everything going on, it was a lot harder to schedule guests than I thought it would be, especially the area that I live in. So I'm kind of learning that as I go. It's only episode 6. I'm learning as I go as well, but I do want to kind of branch out into some craziness and get some people on here. And again, if you know anyone locally or anyone that wants to hit me up or email me, and that email is at freefallmindset@gmail.com. Again, freefallmindset@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email and you can be on the podcast. It's really simple. All right. And a lot of people have asked me to be on, and so I'll try to get some people on here as well. But yes, again, I'm going to end it with please like and share the episode. It means a lot to me, and it helps the algorithm and get a little traction. A lot of these little episodes I'm doing are just to put some filler content out there just for some consistency, because that's one of the things I'm working on. And one of my weaknesses is not being consistent, right? I practice what I preach. I don't just come on here and say, "Oh, how you do this, guys." It really helps me, and I'm in a really great spot in my life, and a lot of this is exactly what I'm talking about. Got me there, and hopefully it can help you guys. It may not. You may not get zero value from it, but it's at least something to go in your head and tumble around, and you can recycle it or whatever you want to do with it. But I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for all the subscribers and the views. Like, the views are more than I thought they would be. So that's really cool. I'm really appreciative of that. And I do want to keep going up because that's the goal. But again, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you made it to the end of the video here. If you did, I appreciate it. You a real one. You a OG. You a day one. You my homie, my homies. And I appreciate you. I love you guys. So again, episode 7 is I'm going to have a co-host, and we're going to probably talk about artificial intelligence and just some weird shit, because that's fun to me. And I think it's really, really, really cool. And I don't think a lot of people understand like the whole AI, where the world's headed type thing. So I do want to talk about that because it's super, super interesting, and it's going to be a part of our daily lives, and whether you like it or not. So embrace it. But again, freefallmindset@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I am out. Peace.